Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm doing a character study of Miriam Pataki from Hey Arnold. She is married to Big Bob Pataki and is the mother of Olga and Helga Pataki, and she's voiced by Kath Soucie. And Miriam is honestly a really tragic character, especially knowing that throughout the show she's struggling with depression and sadly she is an alcoholic. And those are things that, as kids, all of us watching this show back in the late 90s and early 2000s, we didn't pick up on any of that at all. But then in hindsight, it's all so obvious and the signs are all there. And she's introduced in the third episode of season 1, Arnold's Hat, when she's making one of her smoothies, and then she says to Helga, "Pass the Tabasco, dear." So that's just a clear indicator right there. And it's especially devastating knowing that she had all of this potential, all of these skills and talents when she was younger. We learn in the episode Olga Gets Engaged that she was in fact once an Olympic swimmer. With all of these dreams, then when she got married, she dropped out of college. And then that was pretty much it. Then she had kids, and now, sadly, she is struggling with alcoholism. We always see her moping around or asleep and then slurring her words. And it really is heartbreaking. But Craig Bartlett has said that if and when, I'll be hopeful, the Patakis is ever made, that Miriam will be going through the 12-step program, so going to AA meetings and getting sober. So it's reassuring knowing that she won't be this way forever, that she will seek help, and that in turn her relationships will be stronger with her husband, with her children. Because as we know, of course, just like Big Bob, she favors Olga. And it's sad, like, her relationship with Helga, because there are moments when they bond, but with Helga in particular, that she has no respect for her mother whatsoever. She doesn't even see her as a mother, because she doesn't do anything that's particularly motherly. She's always just passed out for the most part, and it's so tragic. She's never there for Helga when Helga needs her, for anything as simple as just making her lunch for school. And she calls her Miriam, so that just shows that she has no respect, even calling her mom. Of course, there are moments here and there, but for the most part, that is their relationship. Just this very distant, barely recognizable relationship of a mother and daughter. It's just not that at all. And they do have moments here and there where they do bond, in particular the episode Road Trip, when they go on the road trip together because Big Bob couldn't go, and we see how incompetent she is, that she can't even drive, endangering their lives more than once.
Do you remember what road we're supposed to take next?
How on earth should I know? You're the adult in this car.
I wrote the directions on the back of that envelope.
Watch the road!
Oh, oopsie.
Great, Mom. You lost the directions.
Oh, well, that's okay, because I have a map.
Mom, this is a map of Wankyland. Great. We're totally lost on the road to nowhere with a map of Wankyland.
Have a little faith in me, Helga. Oh, look, Helga, a cow.
And then when the car breaks down, they have to get it fixed. And then she finds out about that contest, the bull riding contest. And then she ends up doing amazing at it and winning the grand prize. And then Helga's so amazed. She's like, "Wow, Mom, I didn't know you could do that." And then she's saying, "There's lots of things you don't know about me, Helga." And she's saying, "What else can you tell me about yourself? There's so much I don't know about you, Mom." And then she's saying, "Well, when I was a little girl." So it's cute when she's taking an interest in her mom, because it turns out she was this bull riding champion when she was a little girl. So just like Helga, knowing how talented and amazing she is, that it's wonderful then when she can see her mom in this new light and then be like, wow, this is someone I can respect and admire. So it's sad that we don't see that many moments like that throughout the show, but when we do see them, that makes them all the more satisfying. And another great one, of course, is the Beeper Queen, when she really sees some success instead of just being this woman who just lays around all day and is getting drunk, sadly, that now when Big Bob throws his back out, then she goes to fill in for him. And she does that whole thing with the commercial, it's a big show-stopping number. And then we see also how it strengthens her relationship with Helga. Now she's dressing professionally and she's going to work, and they're like, oh, wow, Mom, like, you look great. And then she is making her lunch. And then we see like that montage. It's like, well, Helga, why don't you do your homework here? I could help you out. And it's really sweet. And we see her, though, increasingly getting busier and busier on the phone, and then once again ignoring Helga. And first, when Helga had all these great lunches, then we see by the end, then she just like forgot her lunch again. So devastating, my God. And then there's that heartbreaking scene when Helga's saying, Mom, I need to talk to you just for a minute. And then she's saying, oh, you need me for a minute, Mom. Well, I'm sorry, Helga. I'm too busy right now. So go run along, do your homework or something. And then when she watches the playback, she sees herself the way she's treating her daughter. And then she drops the mug, it crashes. That's, oh, God. Even as a kid watching that, I was like, wow, look at her being able to see herself just the way she treated her daughter. That's like a rare thing where you could just see yourself, like how it was caught on camera. That's crazy. So then she's just like, Helga, I'm going to quit. I'm just like, nothing makes me happier than being your mom. And then she gives her a hug. That's all Helga needs, just a parent who she can rely on. My God, poor Helga. But, as we know that things will get better for her, but wow. Goodness, it's intense and so heartbreaking. So, and then she's saying, oh, be careful, they are sharks. Like, so we see all that confidence in Miriam, that how easily she can become this person who's just very successful, definitely even more so than Bob. So it is nice, though, when we see her come through for Helga, and that's just a really heartwarming, lovely thing. And we do see her also flourish in the episode Summer Love. And that's when she bonds with Susie. And that's an interesting dynamic that really was only explored in that one episode, but that would have been interesting if, I guess we could assume that they stayed friends, because then they do the flamenco dancing, and they're bonding with Bob when he had gotten sunburned. So then she just goes off and does her own thing. And then Susie, how we know her relationship with Oscar, how it's a strained relationship, of course. So then with the two of them bonding, and then they're just having fun and just living their own lives. What could have been interesting is that if they had both perhaps separated from their husbands at the same point, that would have been interesting. And then maybe they just bond and they kind of are there to help each other, support each other, and do new things just as friends, and just to kind of be on their own, not just tied down in their relationships where clearly they're not getting the emotional needs and things of that nature. So that's an interesting friendship and just an interesting dynamic as well. And really we do see moments though where Miriam does come through for Helga, also in, of course, Arnold's Christmas. Perhaps you could look at it though in a way of her overcompensating when she buys her those expensive Nancy Spumoni snow boots. But I'd still think it's a nice moment. It's when she's saying, oh, I waited hours and hours to get these for you, Helga. They're the last pair in town. And then Helga just so happy. And then when she's dancing around, but then of course then she ends up giving them up to that guy, Mr. Bailey, so then they could find Mr. Wynn's daughter. So that's a truly beautiful thing. And, Arnold's Christmas is, everyone agrees it's one of the best episodes of the series. So that's a nice thing, too, that here and there are moments when she comes through. I also really like the scene when Miriam, the episode when Helga gets amnesia, beans, and then when she's talking to her the next morning, she's like, good morning, Helga, how are you feeling? I'm just fine, Miriam, how are you feeling?
Man, I feel like I got hit by a truck.
Good morning, dear. How are you feeling?
I'm just peachy, Miriam. How are you feeling?
Oh, well, I'm just fine, Helga, but then again, I'm not the one who got hit on the head with a baseball and caught amnesia yesterday.
Amnesia?
Oh, yeah. You couldn't remember anything. You were just completely helpless. Anyway, thanks to that nice little blonde boy from your class.
Blonde boy? What blonde boy?
Oh, now, what was his name? Arthur?
Arnold?
That's it! Arnold walked you home and he made you a little snack, and then he helped you with your homework. Oh, he even tucked you in when you fell asleep, and then he waited downstairs till I got home. Anyway, I'm glad you're feeling better, honey.
That scene always stood out to me as a kid for some reason, because it was interesting because we only learned in that conversation that Arnold had stayed there, and then it's oh, he even waited for me till I got home, so that we don't see that on screen. That's just interesting to think about, that he was there, waited to then explain to Helga's mom everything that happens, and that's cute to me. I don't know. Because really, we don't really see Miriam. We don't see the other members of the family interact with Arnold too much. A little bit with Big Bob and with Olga, but not so much with Miriam. And then, of course, there is the wonderful episode, one of the best of the series, Helga on the Couch, with Miriam too, how again, seeing like in flashbacks, how they neglected Helga when she was just going to preschool by herself, like, my God. And then them just fawning over Olga as she was playing Beethoven, or as Big Bob called it, Beethoven. I can't get over that. That's so ridiculous.
That was wonderful, honey.
You're a stinking genius.
Daddy, who's gonna take me to preschool?
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. Come on, play us another one, Olga.
I know. How about the Minute Waltz by Monsieur Frédéric Chopin?
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, you should hear her play Beethoven, Miriam.
Can you believe her, Olga? Concert pianist at 15. Class valedictorian.
Plus, she's won every spelling bee in the whole darn city. Makes me proud to be a Pataki.
Hey, who's taking me to preschool?
Yeah, in a minute, Olga.
No, I'm Helga, Dad. Helga.
Whatever. Go play outside, would you?
I'm going to preschool.
What do you know? 1 minute flat. You're amazing, Olga.
I'm going to preschool.
Also, there's another interesting episode later on in the series that just focused on the Patakis, the episode Big Bob's Crisis, when he just decides he wants to live more simply and they just have that yurt and all of that, which is interesting too. And so really with Miriam, it's sad knowing that she had all this potential, that now this is where she's at in her life, and that we can still see glimmers of how she can be so capable and so prosperous in her life, in other areas of her life. And then in doing that, it strengthens her relationship with Helga. So I do think, like, as they get older, like just like those characters in general, that they would just have a stronger relationship as they get older with Miriam and with Helga, and also with Helga and Olga, of course, too, and Helga and Big Bob. So knowing that Helga sadly is so neglected, but that's not going to be forever, thankfully, because it's so devastating with all of that. That's a huge part of why she is the way she is, of course. But thankfully with Miriam, we know that she's not going to be struggling in this way forever. And also with Miriam and Big Bob, how sadly, like, Big Bob being so abusive, like when he's always yelling at Miriam too. And really the only sign of affection for them throughout the entire show is just when he puts his hand on top of hers in the episode School Play. That's the only one that's just a genuine sign of affection with them. It would be interesting too to think about, how did they meet? How did they come to fall in love? And I'm sure she had other men in her life that could have been better suited for her, who knows? But knowing that eventually they will like work out their issues and become a stronger couple, that's just reassuring, knowing all of that. And that Miriam herself truly is this strong, capable person to admire at the end of the day, despite all of the struggles that she's going through. But that just makes her human. So that's why Miriam really is just a really interesting character, that in hindsight, seeing all of these struggles she's going through, but knowing that she will overcome them in the end. And such is the nature of Hey Arnold, as always, to always have hope. And with that, that is going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. As always, you can follow the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Be sure to check out storytellingsaga.com, and feel free to send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next week, I am so excited to say I will be interviewing Jacob Kruger of Jacob Kruger Studio. I've taken many of their writing courses over the years, including TV writing, screenwriting. They also offer playwriting. Most recently, I actually took a comic book writing class. I really enjoyed that as well. And I also took Jake's Write Your Screenplay class. So I'm super excited to chat with him about screenwriting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.